Well, listen. I've met Tony years ago, and I remember when we first started talking. I asked you, how did you first start? And you told me you went to the first, what was it, Denny? What was it, Denny something overnight place?
You got a good memory, Mike. That was 22 years ago, man.
You went somewhere like 5 o'clock in the morning. You saw some guys in a restaurant and said, "Hey guys, what do you like to do? What's your life like? How you feel? What do you do?"
I love that.
Yeah, when I first started learning the skills of how to create change very rapidly, I went to this class and I learned this stuff called neurolinguistic programming. It's how to use language to change the programming of the nervous system. And it was very powerful. You could take like somebody with a lifetime phobia who's been in therapy for 10 years, and I'd challenge the therapist. That's how I built my career. I'd go on radio and television and say, listen, give me your worst patient. I handle them in 1 hour. Tell me somebody you've been dealing with for years. And I actually launched my career up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, because I was up there and I got on this radio show and I didn't know what a shock jock was. It was the early day of shock jocks way back then. I'm older, right? And I got on the show and this guy just tried to tear me up, and he had this guy call in, the psychiatrist. He said, "You're a liar, you're a charlatan," because I kept saying, I don't care what your problem is. I don't care what your problem is. I don't care how many years you've been in therapy. I don't care if you have uncontrollable phobias. See me, I'll handle it in less than 1 hour because I am the one-stop therapist, baby. And so,
I love that.
And when people started calling in saying, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" I'm like, yes, of course, yes. And then this man calls up, and he's a psychiatrist, and he said, "You're a liar, you're a charlatan. People like you should not be allowed on the radio." And I said, "Sir," I said, "have you ever met me?" He says, "No." I said, "Have you ever met any of my clients?" He said, "No." I said, "You never met me, never met my clients, and you're calling me a liar on national radio." I said, "Are you a scientist?" He said, "Of course, I'm a physician." I said, "Well, if you're a scientist, you must be stating, your hypothesis. Because your hypothesis is a charlatan, right? You don't have a clue. So if it's your hypothesis, you got to test it." And I said, "Why don't we test it?" I said, "I'm doing a free guest event tomorrow night at the Holiday Inn." I said, "Bring me one of your patients. Give me somebody you've never been able to cure." I said, "I'm sure you got plenty of those," right? It's like, you're going to be rough with me, I can be rough back, right? And long story short, he had this woman he'd been treating for 7 years with a lifetime phobia of snakes. Phobia is uncontrollable response to a stimulus. And she dreamed the snake would bite her on the face and her adrenaline would go through and she'd wake up 3 or 4 times a night, 7 years. So I said, "Bring her down. That should take me 10 or 15 minutes, right?" And stirred the guy up. And I used to get like 100 people at a free guest event. And I got 500 people show up to see the shootout between me and this psychiatrist. And I brought this woman on stage and I ended up wrapping a snake around her about 20 minutes later. And she was shaking, spitting when I just mentioned snake. And so that opened the door. And then I started working with athletes. I started with, years and years and years ago with some of the top athletes. And then it just grew. And then I worked with Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa. And then I started growing businesses, and now I have 54 companies, and we have over $6 billion in business in about 12 different industries. And I still have my day job where last year I did, 108 cities around the world, 18 countries. This year, a little bit more than that. So, and the events go for, as you know now, 10,000 to 50,000 people.